Welcome back, guys.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to another Friday here at
The Coffee Breakup.
I wanted to do it at the same time, but I missed it.
Sorry. Thank you so much for tuning in, guys.
Thank you once again. So, before we begin, remember to please like this video, subscribe, follow, comment, share. If you're watching us on YouTube, great. You can listen to us on Spotify and iTunes. And if you're listening to us on Spotify and iTunes, please watch us on YouTube. Most importantly, though, what you can do is, subscribe, watch. There's apparently a notification bell on YouTube. Ring that notification bell.
Smash that button.
Smash that like button. And follow us on social media. We're on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter primarily. Most important thing you can do is obviously share our content, follow, of course.
Yep.
But the most important for us is the commenting and the engagement. Even if you don't want to leave the comment, it's important to at least DM us, because then we can use that as more content, as more ideas to provide feedback for you guys.
Absolutely.
Right? So fantastic. So once again, we're going 100 miles an hour, and we have another guest.
Absolutely. That's a special episode again. Once again, we got Ciera in the house.
And you got her name right this time.
I did. I practiced.
Inside joke. You'll find out later.
Oh, okay.
What's up, Ciera?
So yeah, this one hits closer to home.
Yeah.
We actually know her since high school.
Yeah.
Right?
A lot has changed.
A lot has changed.
Yeah.
You're a new woman.
Yeah.
Change woman.
We've all blossomed.
Yeah.
Yes.
Put the mic closer to your face.
Put the mic closer to my
No,
face.
but the mic goes closer to your face. You don't go. There you go.
There we go. Sorry.
Beautiful. All right, now we can hear you a little bit better.
Sounds good.
Alrighty. So
So
Marvin,
Ciera.
take us away.
Yeah. How are you? Thank you so much for tuning in.
Yeah, of
Cool.
course.
Showing
Honestly,
up.
I'm happy to be here. When I was offered this opportunity, I was like, for sure, I'd love to come here and talk with you guys, especially knowing you guys for so long, seeing you guys getting started from the bottom. Now we're here.
Hey.
Play Drake in the background.
Yeah, well, I really just wanted to come on here and, just talk back and forth with you guys.
Of
answer
course. So
any
yeah, be very
questions.
natural. This isn't anything formal. We want you to be you. Obviously, we've known each other for years. I think we've been a little bit closer than you and Marvin. We talk here and there. I obviously dated your best friend at one point. So the good thing is, but we've always maintained a good friendship. So I value you for that. So what are you doing over there, guy?
What? What? Oh, okay.
There you go. Anyways. So as always, we always want to start with the guests. We want to get to know who you are. So those that are watching, they want to get to know you as well. We've known you for years, but some people may not know you at all. So we want to make sure that everybody can get a feel like who you are, right? So
Tell us about you.
Loud, yeah. So
no
go ahead. Tell us about yourself.
Excellent. Well, my name is Ciera, guys. I was born and raised in Miami, Florida. The only time I ever left was when I went to FSU. I really enjoyed my time there. I studied economics and entrepreneurship. Most of my relationships took place long distance, so I'm sure we'll get into that later.
Very interesting.
And yeah, I just recently moved back down to Miami, Florida. I now build online beauty franchises, and I'm just happy to be here.
That's awesome.
It is awesome. When we talked about possible guests that we would have on the show, I think you were one of the first people that we said, "Hey, Ciera, we definitely got to get her on."
Yeah. Put your name in the hat.
On top of the list. On top of
First
the
one to
list.
get pulled from the hat.
Top of the list. So, how old are you? I think you graduated the same year. Or was it the year after?
The year after, so
Yeah,
I'm
after
26.
26. Okay, awesome. And you're from Miami, born, raised here.
Yep.
Background, you
Cuban.
Cuban.
From both sides.
Both sides. Have you ever been?
Yes.
Oh, you can.
Recent, and it was like 2 years ago.
Okay. Did you like it?
Yeah, I loved it. I feel like people are a lot happier with a lot less.
Absolutely, I agree. I like that.
No, it's a nice. Yeah, man. Put that on a freaking. Put that on a cup.
No-
on a mug.
card.
Oh no, yeah, on a postcard.
And so what is it that you do for a living, if you don't mind us asking?
Yeah, so like I said, I build online beauty franchises. I really help mentor other women who want to build a residual income online using vegan, clean beauty products.
Okay. And yeah, that's right. You're vegan, right?
Yes, super vegan.
Super vegan. How
Like
long has it?
level 3000.
How long has it been now?
It's been coming up on 3 years now.
That's a long time.
Yeah.
This journey, how has it been for you?
It's honestly been, I feel like, really more towards like self-discovery.
Okay.
And very healing for me. I was actually borderline diabetic before going vegan, and I had no idea that I even had so many like underlying issues until I really started diving into it. And essentially, it just all came down to healing myself, eating a cleaner whole foods,
choices to make.
primarily fruits. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's why we're drinking a little wine.
No, it's grape juice.
Grape juice.
Fermented
Yeah,
grape juice.
Fermented grape juice.
So what made you say, hey, like I want to become vegan? Like, what was the first step that you took?
Well, actually,
I guess
it was Twitter. Like some guy on Twitter was like had the best clapbacks ever, and I was like, oh wow, this guy is really funny, and it kind of makes sense. And I just started kind of doing like my own research, and I really started like going on YouTube and looking at like different holistic
Who was
doctors.
the guy?
He's like Father Fructose or like.
Never mind. I don't want to know. Yeah, you can continue.
I thought it was like a boyfriend to be or something like that.
No.
Okay.
Or like,
he's a friend of
you
mine.
guys remember? Did you guys in high school that guy Gary Yurovsky? That his last name was spelled like You're of Sky, and he would come in and he would talk about like how chicken's egg is a period and a bunch of other. No, you didn't have him.
I don't.
I had him.
I remember the cat girl with the cat ears that would say.
No, she's a student. I mean, like there was a guest speaker that they brought in that to promote veganism.
Oh no, I don't remember.
Is that even a thing? Veganism? Is that what it's called?
Yeah, veganism. That
sounds like a disease. Anyway, so I mean, let's before we get continue. So obviously, Ciera and us, we went to high school together. We went to Miami Springs Senior High. She's a year younger than us, and one of her best friends, if not the best friend.
Yeah, the best friend.
The best friend. There you go. So she's watching this. Tell her to watch this so she knows that we spoke good about
she
her.
was the one that gave me most of my questions. I'm gonna ask you.
Really? Oh, this is gonna be exciting. So, so then I'm close to her because I dated her best friend, and her and I we still maintain a good relationship, but. Fortunately, we kept the friendship out of it, and I think that was great. So that's just a little bit of background information before we continue. But yeah, continue on, Marvin.
Before we dive in, no. So I wanted to ask us first your background. You do is it Monet? How do you pronounce it? Monet, Menard?
Okay, I know. Honestly, I used to butcher it too when I first got started in the business.
Wait, hold on, everybody.
Are you guys
tune
ready?
in, raise the volume because this is very
notes.
important. Nobody knows how to pronounce this.
Yeah.
Go ahead, hit us.
Okay, so it's like modern nature. So when you're pronouncing
Manat.
Monate.
Monate.
Oh.
I like that. Monate. Yeah, because when I was doing my notes, it's like one of the first things I wanted to ask you is like, how do you pronounce it?
Is that why it's called like that? Like Money.
Yeah, money.
Is that what it's called? I like that. Money.
Okay, so you've been doing this for how long?
9 months now.
9 months.
Yes.
And how's it been for you?
Honestly, it's been great. I was bartending before. I originally wanted to go into business consulting when I was in college, and when I wanted to get started, I was like, wow, entry level kind of is trash. So I decided that I was going to go back to bartending because in Miami you actually make a lot of money doing that. Hence why you're doing it as well.
Right.
Somewhat in the industry.
Yeah, somewhat in the
for
transit.
sure.
Yeah. So I was actually like looking at the not the compensation plan, the business plan, and I was like, oh my goodness.
For
money. Yeah, I was like, this is typically like.
It's like I need to really try to say money.
Money. It's basically business consulting. So it's something that I'm passionate about as well because you guys know I'm really heavy into detox, and it really goes into like detoxing the scalp and your hair and all of that. So it kind of really touched into what I was already passionate about.
So good. Yeah. Before we get into all of this, tell us from when you because I know that when you went to FSU, you probably went through like 1,000 majors, didn't you?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, so I want to go through all of that.
Oh, okay.
So when you graduated high school, what was the plan first? What did you major in? What was your goal? What did you originally want to do before you got into this?
Okay, well, I honestly wanted to go into environmental engineering. That was my first because I loved animals and I loved the ocean. So I really wanted to do like things more like, the oil spills help clean up, things like that. And then when I got to Florida State for my orientation, I saw the curriculum and I was like, you know what? I kind of want to have a little fun.
Well, you're an FSU also.
Yeah, exactly. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go to business. Okay. And I was in business, but, and then I went into international business. I did International Business Association. I loved it. That's how I actually went to do a corporate tour on the New York Stock Exchange and all of that. And
awesome.
and as well as, Accenture, and that's kind of how I
really
that's
awesome.
that's kind of how I got like inspired for
Patrick
the whole
works
business.
for Accenture. He's a business consultant.
Yeah, exactly. So that's kind of how I got like inspired to like kind of take that path. And then I was in it, and then I was like, oh, you know what? No, I want to be a sex therapist.
I remember this.
Wow.
Yeah.
I remember this. Yeah, I ran into her at the rec center one time, and then I was like, oh, dude, like, what are you doing right now? Yeah. And you were with, I forgot who it was, but I was walking in, and she's like, oh, yeah, I'm going to FSU. I'm studying sex therapy. And I'm just like,
what? I know, Scorpio vibes.
Of course.
So then what happened after that? So I guess you changed from saving the animals, and then you thought, okay,
then
let's fall.
My stepsister had a crucial conversation with me, and she's like, Ciera, you have no patience. Like, people are gonna come to you and tell you about their like sexual issues, and you're gonna be like, well, she didn't. I'm not gonna exactly say what she told me, but she was like, basically, I'm gonna be like very blunt and cutthroat.
That's how I am.
Exactly.
Okay.
So
I find myself successful with the way that I handle things like that.
Yeah. So I was like, you know what? Yeah, that's kind of true. Like I kind of wanted to go for like Mrs. Fokker vibes, you know?
Yeah,
Like
very
super like
spiritual and
holistic.
like right.
Yeah, and then I was like, you know what? I'm here to make money, and then I'll do that on the side. So let's run it back.
Cool. So then, okay.
Then I went back and I decided to do economics since I had social sciences and business.
Right.
And economics was always something that I was passionate about. I was good at it, and I saw like a way to make more money in business consulting by going that route.
So you kind of followed the money. That was kind of like what you were aiming for.
Exactly.
But it landed you into something you like.
But it landed me into something I like, exactly. Which is crazy because
that is crazy.
Funny how it works.
Yeah, exactly. Because when I graduated, I was like, okay, I went through the excruciating hiring process, and I actually got 3 job offers, and I declined all of them because it just didn't resonate with me anymore.
Okay.
And then I literally encountered this opportunity, and it is literally what I'm passionate about, and I get to do it on my own terms.
Yeah, I see. Like, obviously, I see your posts and your stories and all that stuff, and you seem very passionate about it. It looks like you love it, and I'm happy for you. But I just wanted to go backtrack. What made you say, hey, like, I want to leave Miami, go to FSU? Because most people, especially in Miami, a lot of them stay at home. Your Hispanic background, they're very family oriented.
It definitely has a lot to do with my background.
Yeah, did you want to, or did you just apply to random places and that's one that
I feel like ever since I was younger, my dad always wanted me to leave because he didn't leave and he always regretted it. And you know, your first dream is never really your dream. It's always your parents' dream.
You want to make them proud and happy.
Exactly. So I never was even allowed. Like my dad didn't even allow me to apply anywhere in Miami.
Really? Like that?
So I was only allowed to apply out of state and like up north.
What are some schools that you applied to, except obviously not FSU?
Well, I applied to Tulane, Rollins, and Florida State.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you pick Florida State because it was the closest one to home?
Well, I picked Florida State because I really wanted to go to a school that was very spirited, and I felt like, you know, there was like a lot of I guess like football was like the culture there is just awesome. And I just kind of
big state school.
I feel like since I played so many sports during high school that I wanted to be in a community that was kind of like prioritize sports too, you know, like a little bit of fun, as well as to allow me to enjoy that because I was such a strict athlete that I never really did much.
Dude, that's right. You played softball.
I played softball. I did golf, soccer, cross country. I literally did everything.
Dancing too,
and
no?
you did
Dancing.
and you
Yeah, I know.
Oh my God, what can't she do, man?
Well, I can't play basketball.
Okay.
Oh, okay, I mean, that was kind of a rhetorical question. Thank you for answering me.
It's funny because I remember you from high school and I would see you in the hallways. You were just always very happy, like a positive spirit. And it kind of 10 years later, you don't think so? I feel like she was always happy. Maybe you know her from a different light. Yeah. When I would see you in the hallway, you always seem very happy, very positive.
That is true. No, yeah, you always had a smile on your face.
You always had a smile on your face. And then
Steady smiling.
Even with the braces.
Yes.
Braces, I remember. Yeah, I remember those. And then now, almost 10 years later, you still that's still kind of embedded in you, and you still seem very
probably
positive.
even more now because she's like following, you know, what she loves to do. You know,
I love that. Awesome. Because I feel like you changed so much, but at the same time, the core is still like you.
I
like
feel
goofy,
like exactly. I'm still like a goofball, honestly.
Okay.
Oh yeah, so let's go back towards what you're currently doing, Monet. I said it again.
Yeah.
All right, good. Okay, so let's talk about that. So, apparently, you know, I'll be honest with you. I can't stand you guys when you guys post on Instagram. You guys are like a fucking plague. But you know what? It works for you guys, and that's a strategy, you know. And I support a hustler. You know, I supported you day one. I remember years ago, I supported you because you were doing this, like, you know, when you were healthy eating and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And I DM'd you, and I was like, dude,
like
I get you know, so excited when I see people who follow their passion.
Yeah.
Which both of you guys, I'll be honest, inspired me to do this. You know, and then luckily you helped me do this together.
Absolutely.
But so then that slowly went towards, you know, where you're doing now. So how did you come across this opportunity? I think you already answered it, but do it one more time now that we're going to be diving directly into it. And for those who don't know, which is rare, you know, share with it, you know, how it works, what you do, and what the goal is, and kind of, you know, whatever you can about it.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So I was actually approached about the opportunity while I was still in college, and I didn't really look too much into it because I was so preoccupied with graduating, and I was doing a lot of like extracurricular activities with school clubs and things like that. So I didn't really want to get involved in anything like that. But hindsight, you know, I could have totally handled it, and I wouldn't have had to work my bartending jobs up there. But
So do you think that you could have gone in earlier on it?
I could have, but at the same time, I'm owning my journey. Like, this is the time that I needed to do it.
Exactly.
And I wouldn't have
That's
been
true.
doing
Things
it with
happen
my
for a
best
reason.
friends.
Yeah, you
So-
would have like started and it probably would have gone to
Yeah,
shit.
and honestly, the person who first approached me about it, like, she's doing the business, but you know, she ain't doing the business.
Not like
Oh.
you.
Yeah,
Okay.
you know,
Yeah, you're getting it. Yeah, find the mic. Find the mic. The mic will find you.
the mic will find me. Yeah. Okay. So then, I had a couple friends do it, and I was like, you know what? Like, let me actually look at the ingredients, because I was building a brand for myself. You know, with
Were you vegan? Oh, you were vegan already. Then.
Yeah, I was vegan already.
When did you choose to do vegan prior to this? Like how far behind before?
Like 2 years before.
2 years before.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I had already like been, you know, promoting like other products, other foods, things like that. So I really wanted to make sure I can put like my stamp on it, like my brand name on it. So
I know that.
I did
Oh,
research the
you have
company.
Carbs and Cosmos.
Exactly. My like
We'll get
health
into that
page.
too. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah,
I'm back.
exactly. No worries. So, yeah, I really wanted to be able to, you know, tell my followers, my audience, the people who have been following my journey, like, this is what I'm doing now. And then I actually looked at the business plan, and I was like, well, the compensation, it looks lit. And I was like, I'm never a person that's like gray. Like, I knew that I was going to do it. I was going to go all the way. So like, as soon as I dedicated my time to it, I was like, okay, let's run it.
So in principle, obviously, you know, there's a certain amount of controversy about it, and there's some criticism. Is it a pyramid scheme? Like, how do you make money? What? I'm sorry, I had to bring it
No,
up.
no
I got
worries.
it.
No, but too bad. I mean, based on the multi-level
I love these
marketing,
questions.
the
Yeah.
multi-level marketing
Enlighten us.
strategy, everybody says that. But if you have a product, technically, it's no
It's
longer a pyramid scheme.
exactly.
Although this does look legit.
Yeah. So essentially, you know, there's the multi-level marketing industry is actually regulated by the FTC. So if it was a scheme, there wouldn't be a whole department like regulating it, like just like everything else.
Okay.
So yeah. So essentially, a pyramid scheme, you only make money by recruiting people, and typically the buy-in is like really heavy. Like, it's a lot of money
And
to
you get
start.
like nothing in return.
And you
Right.
get no product, you get no service. It's literally just
Like a membership almost.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if you guys saw those like bloom circles, or like those like, I don't know. I saw it like on Instagram, like when the quarantine first started, and it's like these people. You put your name. Oh, the loom circles. That's what it was called. and whatever. Point is, that's more like of a pyramid scheme. But no, we have most of our products. I mean, our products, we essentially make most of our money from selling products. So we've become $1 billion company simply from commissions from selling our products. So we wouldn't have been able to become that if we were a pyramid scheme.
But you also make money on the memberships also. Like you have to, like
Yeah.
you onboard people.
Yeah. So when you bring someone in, you get a sign-up bonus, but it's not like, you know, the commission structure is primarily based off of
The products that are being
volume.
sold from the
Precisely.
So if me and Chris were to sign up with you today, you would get a compensation for that.
Yes.
confession. I actually signed up with her.
You did.
I'll explain why. So
He's my VIP.
yeah. So I'll explain why though. And you know, ironically, because my sister joined, so I kind of feel guilty.
Oh,
But she joined right after. I didn't know that. But point is, so there's no secret that my hairline has been receding for the past couple of years, right? So I was like, dude, you know what? Like, what am I gonna do about this thing? You know. So other than a nice comb over, I was like, you know what can I do? So I reached out to her because she pro to me, whatever, we were talking, we caught up, whatever. And I asked her about it, and she goes, oh yeah, like my boyfriend, he uses it also,
and
and
it
it's
helped
helped.
with his entradas. Yeah.
So I'm like, bro, at this point, what else do I have to lose other than hair transplant? You know what I mean?
Right.
So I signed up in hopes, and I'll be honest, man, I'm starting to see a little bit more peach fuzz growing out of the entradas that I didn't have before.
How long has it been?
Like a month, literally.
Not even.
Exactly.
Maybe.
It was exactly a month ago.
Well, she knows. I don't know.
It's a shampoo that he's taking.
No, it's a shampoo, but then it's an actual spray that helps like regenerate like the hairs or
yeah,
whatever.
reduce scalp
So-
inflammation.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed.
I had no idea. Like this is news to me.
We had to have hot news.
the
for-
grand
Yeah,
unveiling,
yeah.
bro, hot off the press.
Yeah,
you know, with her here.
Okay, that's funny.
Exactly.
That's funny because I would send him like sometimes I'll send him stories about because some of these people are like very very aggressive when it comes to their promoting.
Yeah. I mean, you know, there's
Oh,
Some people are
I'm
very.
glad you brought that up because I
Yeah.
want to get into like what's worked for you when it came to your marketing.
Right, maybe people listening they can maybe learn from you, or you know maybe you can convince
well,
them.
Yeah,
my,
aside from-
my what I always tell my girls is to start off with curiosity marketing. You know, like to just spark the curiosity, get engagement, find ways to have a calls to action. I'm sure you guys know that's kind of what you guys do with your thing as well.
Right.
And as well as, you know, just adding value and educating people. That's always what you want to do. If you're adding value to someone's life and you're educating them, a confused mind always says no. So you just have to make sure that they understand.
Is the goal to onboard women to be a part of the team, or to onboard clients, VIPs, and sell the product?
Well, I used to be very more geared towards getting people to join the business, but what I've realized is you just want to meet people where they are, because there's going to be people that join for the opportunity and stay for the product, and there's going to be people that join for the product and stay for the opportunity, and it's basically the same on both ends.
Oh, we're talking to like a friggin' Warren Buffett over here.
But like in essence, you're trying to sell the product, right? Because that's what it's different than, because it's like what is it, vegan, and it's cruelty free. Is that correct?
Yeah, anti-aging, luxury.
Okay.
You know, important keywords.
But anyways, as you bring more people on to work with you, that obviously is going to be residual for you as they work as well.
Yeah,
right.
And you make more money based off of, you know, how the bigger your team is and things like that as well.
So how big is your team?
You're a top dog. Don't tell me.
Oh my God. Oh well, I just hit Market Mentor like
I don't know
3 months ago, which is basically the it's the rank where you earn the Cadillac, you get your shares of the company.
Is there a Cadillac outside?
I'm actually picking it up this month.
What a phony.
If we would have scheduled it a couple weeks
we're going to come back in a month and then you record to pull you up.
We'll do the podcast in your car. In the Cadillac. That's awesome.
That's funny. Good for you.
Yeah, thanks guys.
Congrats.
Thanks. Appreciate that.
So, regarding this whole Monate thing.
Monate.
So obviously I see a lot of Monate. Obviously we see a lot of girls that are part of this, plague. Is there? I'm kidding. I support all you. Are there any men? Because obviously I feel like people will probably think that this is more primarily for women.
Honestly, we have plenty of Mo men.
Mo men.
Cut the cameras.
No, it's gonna be a Mo man.
None of that bullshit.
You never know if the money's there.
You guys have like little like team meetings and stuff?
Yeah, of course.
Like
sign me up then.
Group gatherings.
Yeah, you get to go on vacation with us too.
I mean, all the girls. Well, I'm about to sign up too.
Free vacations.
Hey.
What do I say? We'll talk after. Anyways. All right, well that's actually very interesting. So I didn't know that.
Yeah, there's plenty of athletes that are actually doing it, like ex-NFL players who I guess,
They lost all their money and
exactly.
now they got to make some money back.
Precisely, exactly.
Broke.
That's funny. And then so it's like skin and hair, you said, right?
Yeah, I mean everyone washes their hair and their face, I would hope so.
That's true.
All right, so let's shift gears a little bit. Speaking about men, so obviously you are
a woman.
In a relationship was what I was going for, but yes, also true. Tell us about the lucky man.
Well, actually, if you guys know me, back in the day, I would always have like kind of like a checklist of everything I wanted, like in a guy.
Yeah, that's why.
Did you mark everything?
That's why all your relationships never worked.
Yeah, because I would have to sacrifice something.
Bob the Builder here.
Build a bear.
Build a bear workshop, but no, totally. Like, I just always had something that I knew that I wanted, and I would always say it. I wouldn't necessarily like write it down or anything, but like I just would always verbalize it. Like, this is what I want. I want this, boom, boom, boom. And then he literally like showed up, like, with a ribbon and was like, "Oh, hey, here I am."
That's so cool.
And I actually ran away from him for 6 months.
So wait, all right. So when did you? First of all, what's his name?
His name is Thomas.
Thomas, like Tomas.
Thomas, yes.
There's an H in it.
Yeah.
Thomas Prokopovich.
I don't want all that. I don't want that tongue twister. Tomas,
Yeah,
is there an H?
Thomas, yes,
Thomas.
with an H.
So Thomas. Okay.
Okay.
So Thomas.
Yes.
So when did you meet him? How did you meet him? I want both of these.
Well, it's modern day love, so slid in the
Instagram.
DMs.
What was his approach?
True love. Oh yeah. So how did he? What was his approach?
His approach said, "Wow, you're absolutely intoxicating to look at." I was like,
and that worked?
That worked, honestly.
Clearly,
I was like, here I am.
Well, okay. So did you know of him before? Was he a complete stranger?
He was actually friends with someone who I knew through the vegan community, and I saw him upload a picture with him, and I was like, oh, okay. And
so you already kind of had your eye on him.
Yeah, exactly. And I liked his picture, and then I guess he saw my profile and decided to go for it.
So you said you're absolutely intoxicating.
Yeah, he said you're intoxicating.
Let me write that down.
Yeah, take some notes. Take some notes from him. If it works for him.
Well, actually, he's always kind of been like, I guess, a by the book type of guy. Like, I feel like a lot of guys don't really know how to, date essentially. Like,
Fair enough.
they start to
What does
send
that
a lot.
even mean?
Like, well, first of all, like a lot of guys, like they start asking you like 21 questions before you even go on the date. So then you get on the date, you like don't have anything to talk about. It's like kind of like flatlined.
Well, maybe they're just eager and interested in getting to know you. They're like excited.
Well, either way, I was kind of intrigued by like the mystery behind him. Like, he called me, he didn't really text me. And he was like, hey, like, I'd love to take you out to dinner. Like, tell me a little bit about yourself, whatever, blah, blah. We spoke for just a little bit. He asked me what my zodiac sign was. I said I was a Scorpio. He's like, oh, so you're crazy.
That was a winner because he
And
asked for
I get
it.
that too.
And I was like, no, I'm just really passionate.
I say that too. But as soon as it's funny because whenever people ask, so the girl that was here the other day, she asked me, she's like, "What sign are you?" Because I'm really big into that. And I was like, "What do you think I am?" She's like, "Oh, Virgo or Leo." And I was like,
No.
I'm a Scorpio." She's like, "Makes sense." And it's always the same thing as, like, "Oh, what's your sign?" When I say I'm a Scorpio, they're like, "Ugh, a Scorpio." Like we never get any credit. It's always,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, literally. They always think that we're crazy or like we're super hot or both.
Like
I mean, we are,
physically,
though.
Yeah, I
like,
mean,
right? Yeah, I know. Coronavirus.
Coronavirus.
Coronavirus, dab. But that's awesome. All right, so yeah, continue.
So yeah, basically, I went on a date with him. He did like 3-in-1 dates because I was it would have been a long distance thing because I was going back to Tallahassee. So he was like, "Oh, I want to get in as many dates as I can."
And he
So
lives.
he was living. Yeah, I'm sorry.
No, yeah.
He was living in Miami while.
Wait,
you-
where does
so
he
you were in
live?
school.
Yeah, so I came down for winter break, and that's when we messaged. It was like during in December. Like,
So he lives in Miami.
Yeah, he lives in Miami.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So he like whatever he messaged me, I was like, okay, yeah, cool, whatever. And we had like 3 dates. I was like super suspicious. I was like, what is this guy? Like, why is he looking at me like this? Like, I just honestly, like, when someone likes you
Yeah.
and they're just giving you that eye.
So he was into you.
Yeah.
He was clearly into you.
Yeah, and I was like super like ugh.
I
I was just so judgy.
How long were you single for before you met this guy?
Oh, I hadn't been in a relation for like 2.5 years. I would say.
So was it hard to like slowly allow somebody to come back in, or were you ready for?
Well,
to date
my
again?
thing was that I was completely against long distance after had failed in long distance
Yeah, I was going to
twice.
ask about that.
Uh-huh,
Yeah,
okay.
so he was like very into me and he was like, look, I really want to make this work. And I was like, well,
That's very strange for him to say. Like he was living in Miami. You're obviously an attractive girl. Going to FSU,
Yeah.
long distance.
Yeah, well, we went on a couple dates and like I said, the second date, which was like the 6th date technically, he was like, oh, you're very special. And I was like,
I say it all the time.
and when he said that, I was like cringing, like kind of like turning, like I was just like not about it at
So
all.
maybe because he was going too fast.
Yeah, and I'm a very like,
Special.
I have
No, don't
special.
say.
Aboard.
Yeah, abort mission.
Okay.
I just feel like I was very commitment phobic. Like even when I was in my other relationships, I kind of also just always saw them with an expiration date, kind of. I know I'm messed up in the head.
Scorpio.
But yeah, so I was just kind of like hesitant. I didn't really want to start anything, especially not long distance, especially not with someone who looks like him because he's very attractive. I was like,
He's a really good looking guy.
No, thanks.
I saw a picture. I'm not gonna no homo, but he's a good looking guy.
Yeah. Yeah, so I was like, you know what? No, like I'm not about this life. Like you just, no. Maybe like when I come down, I'll hit you up and we'll see where this goes.
Why, you thought it was like a threat or something because he was good looking, that leaving him long distance, that he would have.
I just didn't want to deal with it. Like I had just dealt with it so much, and I was like, I still have a year left of school. Like I don't really want to be committed to anyone down there. I don't want to be worried about anything. I don't want them to be like crying if I'm not messaging them all the time.
needy.
So it was
Yeah.
like past experience, kind of like.
Yeah, of course,
held you
projecting
back.
into that for
Of
sure,
course, for sure.
1000%. And then whatever time passed by, I didn't really talk to him at all until I had a dream about him. It was crazy. And then I messaged him
The next day.
after the dream.
Yeah,
but it was like
of
6
course.
months later.
Oh,
obviously.
never mind.
It was like, yeah, like we hadn't spoken at all, which is crazy because, speaking of manifestation and everything, in February, so this was like 2 months after, mind you, we hadn't spoken since December. He had told his best friend, like, hey, Ciera's going to be my girlfriend. And I hadn't even been speaking to him. So he was,
Shit.
yeah, like super like adamant about it. And I ended up messaging him like late March. I'm like, oh, hey, what's up? Like, had a dream about you.
Yeah.
And then
Triggers feelings.
yeah, and then whatever, like Ultra happened, and I'm happy I didn't see him during Ultra because that's a rare side of me. So I was like, okay,
Perreo.
exactly. So didn't see him at all, whatever, blah blah. And then it was at the end of the semester, so I was coming back down for the summer. And I guess we just spoke, whatever. He had basically told me to go to his aunt's like little shop at the farmer's market, and his aunt basically like fluffed him up for me. It was like, oh my God, whoever is like with him is gonna be so lucky. And like she ended up making me this like super cute like terrarium like inside like little cutesy thing, and he basically paid for it or whatever. And I was like, oh, he's so sweet, whatever. And then I messaged him, and he was like, oh, he was like, oh, okay. I remember you telling me that you've always wanted to go skydiving. I'm like, yeah. He's like, well, or would you be down to go skydiving? I'm like, yeah. And he's like, okay, well, cool, because I just put down a deposit for us to go skydiving, and we went skydiving.
That's
and
awesome.
And then literally, I fell 10,000 feet for him. So
I like that. You can tell your kids that.
Strike two, man, with this fucking cheesy shit.
When you get married,
One more, I'm gonna kick you out of this place.
I'm vegan, no dairy.
So this was a
Strike three, you're up.
This was summer before your senior year, or
My senior year.
your senior year?
No,
Going
before, going into
so you're
it.
going into your senior
Yeah.
year. So that after that skydiving, that was
After
was
that, then I got my tarot cards read, and I was like, okay, I need to confirm if I'm making the right choice.
Really?
Yeah.
And
It confirmed that I was making the right choice. So I was like, okay, let's run it. I guess I can do long distance.
Okay.
so how long did you do long distance for?
Like a year, right?
Yeah, a year. A year.
So no.
Yeah, so I literally graduated the following May. So we did long distance for a year, and honestly, we saw each other every 3 weeks, so it wasn't really that bad.
I definitely want to know how it went and some of the details. We had an episode about long distance, and
Yeah.
he's not really he's opposed to it.
I got screwed over.
Exactly. I'm open to it, but I've never been in once.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you travel a
Well,
lot,
I've
so I
been
can
on
see
both
why you probably would.
I've been on both sides, like the success and the failure, so I totally feel that.
So then, why did you have faith in? Well, you had your cards read. Is that why you kind of felt more comfortable?
Yeah,
about
I
it?
felt more comfortable about it because of that. Yeah.
Really?
But if not, you probably would have been
Well,
like against
also
it.
it was like I felt like he was actually in a place where he can afford to be in a long distance relationship, when the other time that, you
What do you mean?
you need that long distance money to be able to meet in
Oh, to
hotel rooms, to
travel.
travel, to come up.
What does he do?
What do you mean? He does this. Tallahassee. He's not that
What
far.
is he?
I mean, yeah, but still, you need to be able to fly all the like every 3 weeks.
Have you driven or gone to Tallahassee?
No.
Yeah, it's 8-hour drive.
Eight?
Eight
Eight.
hours.
I went to
It is
Tallahassee,
a-
bro. It took me like 12 hours.
Yeah, it was
That's
it's an 8-hour drive, and flights are actually to a private airport, so flights are always like $500-600.
We
Even though
fly
it's-
to Tallahassee.
What does he do?
He works he's a sales guy. He's
Okay.
he's in sales.
Why does it sound like okay?
Sketchy.
Yeah, I don't wanna-
What does he sell?
Sales.
Drug dealer.
He works for Royal Caribbean.
No, I'm kidding.
Royal Caribbean. Oh, so
Says
does he? What does he sell on the side then? No, I'm just kidding. So he sells for Royal Caribbean. So what? Then he's pretty much like an agent that
Yeah,
books you in
yeah,
sales.
exactly.
Cool. Give me his number. I'm gonna hit him up at even though it's not the
I
right
got
time.
you. I'll
but-
give you that friends and family discount.
Yeah. I mean, the Royal Caribbean stocks are horrible. If you can
Yeah,
help me out with that, would
in
be great.
2021. That's right.
Yeah. So how was it dating long distance?
Oh, when I wasn't ready for it, yeah, it was rough. I just feel like honestly, it was more like the guy was just, I guess, insecure.
I mean, I would imagine so. So he was in Miami. You at FSU.
Yeah.
It's hard, man. You're a big
Yeah.
state school. Obviously, you're an attractive girl. I mean, I think a lot of people would be insecure.
Yeah, and the other thing is that I feel like I was just so busy and preoccupied with everything that I had going on.
course.
Like he just wanted so much attention, and he was just kind of throwing tantrums every once in a while, and it was just really draining. And I just couldn't focus on what I needed to focus on if my boyfriend was crying in the corner.
Okay.
How
I
long was
can
that
see
stage? The failed one. How long was that?
Well,
long
it was
distance?
very on and off.
Okay.
So it wasn't ever really consistent. I think it was like it was like 2 years, but it was on and off.
Sure.
So it was like
There's like a thing there.
yeah.
So then you compare him to now your boyfriend, and how was he different? He obviously gave you more space, and
Well, yeah, he gave me space and he encouraged my growth. So it was like completely different. I felt like almost like the other guy was kind of I'm very like big on energy, and I feel like my previous relationship I was the alpha. Like I had more or not really, we were just kind of always battling for that position simply because he hadn't found his purpose. And I feel like you can only, like as a woman, like if a guy doesn't have his purpose and he doesn't know what he's doing, like there's only so much you can commit to him
I
at
strongly
the end of
agree
the
to
day.
that. I agree to that.
And And it's just like, you know, like a man can only love a woman as she loves herself, you know? So it was like, I felt like we were kind of always battling for that because he didn't know what he was doing in his life. And I was very driven and ambitious. And we were kind of always like going back and forth on who, you know, was that. And that's kind of why it didn't work, because I was never allowed to be in my feminine, when at the end of the day, I like being in my feminine. My boyfriend now, he allows me to have my alpha moments, as well as, you know, most of the time I'm in my feminine, and I love that. And I feel like that's why I was successful, versus he was also very secure of himself, and he you know, he just motivated me. Like, we would wake up, he would try to fit his schedule with mine as well, to kind of have like things that we were doing in common. And like,
he sounds very supportive.
Yeah, he's the best.
That's
for
awesome.
Sure.
And so, biggest takeaway long distance, what's the biggest thing that you learned from it in terms of the relationship and how it
like what do you need in order for a relationship to be successful long distance?
There has to be an end date for the distance.
Said the same thing when we recorded. It has to be
there has to be like
something
a
at the
game
end.
plan after, and you guys have to have like a common goal at the end. It can't be like kind of like a day by day type of thing. Like, no, because you have to have like an end goal. Like, we already knew, like, okay, I'm gonna graduate and then I'm gonna move in with you, and that was essentially exactly what happened. We actually moved in together 3 months prior than we planned, so that actually ended up working out better. We were super excited about it, and
awesome. Well, the end date was you only had 1 year left, so that was a good thing. Do you think if you would have met him sophomore year, you think you could have ran through the senior after?
No, because I was a completely different person,
Okay.
and it would have never worked out. He was also a completely different person, and it would have.
How old is he?
He's 29.
29. Okay, so he's a little bit older. He sounds mature.
How old are you?
26.
Okay, 3 years. Okay, that's awesome. And now you guys live together.
Yeah, so we've been living together for a year now.
Okay,
a little bit over a year. Yeah.
So I wanted to backtrack. When you met him, so you were vegan when you met him.
Yes.
And so was he.
He was not vegan when I met him.
He was not. Okay,
yeah, but then he went vegan in like, I want to say February, and then that's kind of like when I started having dreams about him. I was like, oh, he's vegan now.
So my question was, do you think you could date somebody who, I mean, you personally, you think could you have stayed
like
dating him?
Like if
you would have never changed?
If he would have never changed to vegan, I feel like it's no.
Yeah, because it's more than a lifestyle, right? Because it goes so much goes into it.
Yeah, and it's a little bit more than a lifestyle too. I feel like.
But did you? I mean, I want to assume that you also like helped him like stay on course.
Well, yeah, I definitely helped him stay on course. I mean, like, I make really good vegan meals, and I was kind of like really on like a health kick when I first met him too. So I was always doing like detoxes and like being very influential online and really focusing on cleansing myself and doing all of that as well. So I feel like he was also drawn to that, and he kind of wanted a little bit of the healing.
Is that where Carbs and Cosmos like started? Was that like the goal? So be like all about this health and detox.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I felt like my main page on Instagram, I had basically grown it from, you know, just being a pretty girl. And then I kind of wanted to have a different niche and like actually, you know, have a different audience that was actually going to engage with those types of posts. So I felt like I was always bombarding my other page with like food and like diet and like veganism, and I kind of just wanted to break away and like do like something completely towards that, so that I can post all the food pictures and fruit pictures without like people like, oh my god, this girl again with her fruits.
Yeah. Looks delicious though. My question was, so obviously you have a certain specific lifestyle, you fitness and vegan and spiritual and all that stuff and horoscopes, and he kind of like, he was, I guess, open to it, right?
Yeah.
He was receptive to it.
Yeah.
And do you feel, because I'm always a lifestyle over person, do you feel like the relationship could have worked if he wasn't as open as he is, perhaps, you know, from what it sounds like he is?
I mean, I feel like, yeah, we could have made it work, you know, but at the end of the day, like, once again, I'm the type of person who used to always have an expiration date, but this is the first time I haven't. So I feel like because of the fact that we're so like aligned on like everything, that we have like the same beliefs and basically everything. So this is the first time I can actually see myself having a future with someone.
Do you think that he's that the changes that he's made, do you think he's done it for the relationship, or do you think he's done it because he wants it?
I feel like it just kind of aligned with his path as well. Like I
was gonna ask that actually.
Yeah, he was searching for like, you know, like a way to heal himself, his body, and like all of that as well. And I kind of had already the reason why I met him essentially was through a mutual friend in the vegan community who was also raw vegan. And so I saw that he was hanging out with him. So I already knew that he was being educated and doing it. And
open.
Exactly, open to it. So actually, when we met, he took me to a vegan restaurant that he had already been to a few times. So it wasn't something that he was against or anything like that. He had actually dabbled in veganism before, but he never did it correctly. So
I think, I think you always meet people in life for a reason. And I feel like that's kind of why you guys met. He was interested, he was looking, and maybe that's why he was so drawn to you. He saw you were vegan, you were very spiritual. So he was like, man, this girl seems to be like what I aspire to be.
Sure.
So let me get some of that energy and kind of, absorb that and kind of push each other. So I think that's why he was so infatuated with you and so intoxicated.
Enamored.
Yeah.
I mean, Chris is cringing.
Yeah, he is, but that's fine.
It's okay.
Cries in Spanish.
But I mean, he was also a very spiritual person. I feel like he also was
before
meeting me. He was actually a catalyst to my growth.
So you guys both each other kind of
Like he honestly put me on to so much. Like I wouldn't be the person I am today if it wasn't for everything that he put me on to as well. So
I think that's what you need. You need somebody to be with somebody who can teach you to be better and become
support
better
you
and
as
grow.
well.
I was never a morning person, and this guy had me waking up at 5 a.m. Let me know.
To do what?
And you're still
to go to the sauna and
but she meditates in the morning.
Yeah,
like I hit her up trying to like get a date to bring her on, and she wouldn't reply to me for like hours till like 1 o'clock, and I was like,
10.
did you just wake? I'm like, did you just wake up? And she's like, the mornings I do my meditation, so I don't even get my phone.
I don't look at my phone.
I don't.
No distractions.
You have to fill your cup before you pour it into anyone else.
So when you wake up in the morning, you don't look at your phone. It's just
that's zen.
deep. That's deep.
The third strike.
Get you out of here.
4 strings.
So you wake up, you don't look at your phone.
Yeah.
Really?
Basically, yeah. I mean, I like snooze sometimes, but
You wake up at 5 a.m. every day then?
Not anymore. No, not right now. Now I'm more like 7:30 club.
All right, cool. That's when I wake up.
So how long have you guys been together at this point?
2 years. 2 years.
So have you guys talked about the future? You guys live together?
Yeah, we live together. I feel like
what's next?
It was guys. It was honestly crazy. Like when we started dating, like it wasn't ever like, is this going to work? It was kind of like, okay, this is it. Like we'd never really had, either one of us had ever experienced that before. Like, okay, like this is the person that I want to build with. We have the same beliefs. Like, you have great genetics. We have great genetics.
Yeah.
So it was kind of just like, it just happened, honestly.
So you guys talked about having kids?
Yeah, definitely.
And getting married, or is it on the table?
I
Not
mean,
really. Whatever.
Or does it matter?
It doesn't really matter, but at the end of the day, like I think that we are gonna get married, even if it's paper or not paper. I mean, I like parties. I like.
You want a ring?
Are we gonna get invited?
Yeah, I want a ring. Give me the ring, bro. I want that ring.
But you don't care if you get married.
I don't care if I get married.
You just want the ring.
I just want the ring.
What if it's small? What if it's small? Doesn't matter.
I told him to wait until it's big.
You're gonna be waiting for a long time.
That's what she said. That's what she said.
Okay, so kids, yes. Marriage, yes. Perhaps. Big thing I wanted to ask you, because I follow you on Twitter, and somewhat controversial. You an anti-vaxxer? You are.
How does it do with anything?
Well, I'm gonna dive into it. I'm gonna go into it. How does he feel about that?
Oh, he's anti-vax as well.
Okay. Yeah. So my question was gonna be, because that's a big step.
Yeah.
So let's say if you think you could see yourself having kids with him, getting married, but if he wasn't, that was my question.
I would not.
That's why I wanted to. He's like, well,
it's like a non-negotiable.
It's a non-negotiable.
It's a deal breaker.
My priority for me is like, I guess, just my DNA. And the reason why I was going so heavy into detox is essentially to rewrite my DNA, to break those generational genetic weaknesses.
Okay.
So why am I going to just do all of that work to then get with someone and then inject a bunch of chemicals?
Cool. That's a big step, because obviously, because my ex felt the same way. That's why I wanted to ask you. I saw you on social media.
I know we talk.
Yeah, I bet you do. Shit. I bet. So obviously, that's your lifestyle, and it sounds like you and your partner are aligned on that aspect. So my question, when you have kids and stuff like that, would you want to give your kids the choice to, I'm not talking about the vaccines. I'm talking about the lifestyle as far as being vegan.
I mean, yeah.
And so
I would.
You would.
I would. I want to be able, like, my whole thing is educating people. Like, I just want to make sure that everyone is not ignorant on a subject, so that they can make their their decision on their own. So, of course, like, I'm going to, before they actually have, like, consciousness to, like, even understand what a diet is, I'm going to obviously feed them the way that I eat. And then I don't want to, indoctrinize my kids into, like, regular schooling. I would like to do homeschooling or, just. Okay. So I'm just very, like,
Yeah, that's way you, I mean.
Exactly, it's my
wanna raise-
lifestyle.
Yeah.
So
okay.
either way, so that's what that is, and I'm obviously going to educate them. I'm like, look, this is what you can gain from this. This is what you can gain from this, and at the end of the day, it's their choice. But you know.
I like that. Okay, that was my question, because you know how a lot of parents are like, okay, like this is my belief, this is my belief system, whether that is religion or lifestyle or diet, and my kid has to follow that. So I wanted to ask you if you want to, the way you, how you see it.
Yeah, well, how I see it is like, okay, like I'm coming into a union with a very spiritual person, and I know that if we have a child, that person's also going to be very enlightened, and they're going to, you know, have a certain level of consciousness, so that I would appreciate their feedback on what they think and all of that as well. So of course I would, you know, support the decision either way.
Yeah. Like when I was raised, I wasn't raised in a religious household. I didn't start going to church and became Christian until last year.
Yeah.
I do appreciate the fact that I had a choice to go.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, when I have kids and they're little kids, I would take them to church and stuff like that. But at some point, I'd say, hey, like, do you want to go to church or not? Or do you want to stay at home or whatever? So it's like, I feel like it's important to give the kids the choice when they're old enough. And so I wanted to see how you feel about that.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that had a lot to do with how I was raised as well. Like my father always, he never sugarcoated anything.
Right.
It didn't matter if it was an adult situation. He would always educate me on what happened, how things should be handled. And I feel like that's kind of like why I've always been like a mentor or, you know, like the voice of reason for all my friends, because of the fact that I was so, we're both like, I was like wise beyond my years, you know, for such a young child. So I was always able to, maybe it's a Scorpio thing, you know, just like low key, like counselors and like all of this.
Hey, you never know, dog. Her and I are actually, we're almost like the same person. It's actually really scary. Well, other than the whole vegan shit. But other than that, like we think very similar. That's why we get along pretty well, because I mean.
Yeah, the only time we didn't get along is when he dated my best friend. But outside of that,
but you know,
we were good friends outside of the relationship.
Which is why we stayed as, unfortunately, I mean, you know, my ex, your best friend, and myself, we've kept a very mutual, good relationship.
Yeah, you guys are good. Like you guys are very, it's a very healthy.
Which I think it's helped us also maintain the friendship that we have.
Totally.
So you said a lot about, you know, obviously this Thomas Popovich, he's good. He's probably legit. I'm extremely happy for you, because honestly, from the years that I've known you, I think this is the happiest that you've ever been with a quality guy. Obviously, you know, we are a little bit older, so our expectations are different. It was
definitely me as well. Like I also wasn't ready for that either.
Exactly.
You know?
So we're in a different position in all of our lives. Like we have different expectations, we have different wants, we have different mindsets as well, and how we carry ourselves is very different. But obviously from the past, if this guy was so great, tell us a little bit more about like how bad, like your worst relationships, like how has that molded you to be how you are?
Well, you were there for one of my worst relationships.
I was there. Yeah, I was. Well, then again, you know, from high school, I mean, that's like, you know, childish shit. But, you know, obviously through college, you know, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And, you know, I don't want to disrespect, so if you don't want to, by all means. But any history that you can tell us of why you are the way that you are now and what's molded you to think the way that you do when it comes to relationships and obviously to your now boyfriend.
Well, I feel like I've always before I was always like drawn to like, you know, the bad guys or whatever, you know, like kind of like.
They're just extremely good looking with no substance.
Yeah, no substance. And that's exactly what happened to me in high school. And he was the worst. He honestly was super manipulative. I was super young. He was 21. I was 17. So it was like, yeah. So yeah, exactly. 17?
So yeah, 17 and 21 is a big gap.
Yeah. Well, I actually met him when I was 16, but either way, it was weird. Anyways, continuing on.
Jeffrey Epstein.
Anyways, he was honestly awful. He was very like, he would like he cheated on me, and it wasn't like we weren't technically dating, like we weren't boyfriend and girlfriend or whatever. So like I let it slide, whatever. And then we started dating, and then when I started dating him, like it was like legit. I obviously was like, okay, well, when I graduate like high school, I'm so done with you. Like you're such a loser. But I kind of just wanted to be in a relationship just to say like,
there's gotta be an end date, bro. There's an end date to everything.
Yeah, that's how I was. I was like super savage. I was like, okay, well, I'm just gonna, you know, ride this till the wheels fall off, and then I'm gonna break up with him, and that's exactly what happened. Okay. And then I went for the complete opposite. I went for like a super softie.
Was he still good looking?
Yeah, he had a good face.
Okay, but then what happened there? I want to assume that you were
I was the alpha again. So it was yeah, he was very sensitive.
I think I know him.
Yeah. He was
Yeah.
very sensitive. He was very needy. He was very like everything, on the feminine side. So I kind of just
Too much for you.
I ended that as
Yeah,
well.
but at the same time, man, because I want to assume that you're not easy to handle, man, because you have a strong personality
very strong
and a strong
personality.
character. You need
Exactly.
someone who's willing to give,
Yeah.
like, I don't want to say dominate that, but balance you out to
Yeah.
then realize that there's the other side to it, which is what your boyfriend's doing now.
Exactly. So my dad always said that the reason why none of my relationships worked is because I always had bigger balls than the other guy.
Absolutely.
I can see
yeah,
that.
she was scary, man. Even
She
then,
was
like,
scary.
yeah, she would. I wouldn't even doubt that. I probably saw you swing at a couple of people back in the day. Probably that same ex. Oh, she was.
Yeah,
someone
honestly, we're not gonna get
forced
into
to reckon
details,
with.
but I'm definitely a force to be reckoned
Yeah.
with for sure. Like honestly, I can turn up even my second relationship with the failed long distance.
Oh, yeah.
I remember
Oh,
the
okay.
first time he saw me get mad, he was like, "Wow!" Mind you, he had been going to like anger management, so he was like, "Wow."
And I thought I had problems.
Yeah, he was like, "Damn, you turn up." I'm like, he was like, "That was nice." I'm like, "Yeah, I'll be here all week."
All right. You got anything else?
But yeah, I mean, I feel like all the relationships kind of just really threw me into like, to do shadow work. A lot of, like, okay, why did I attract this situation? Why was I going through this? Why was this my partner during this time? And then once I became aware of like the people that I was attracting into my life, I can take it for what they were. And
Yeah, I think you have a huge control of who you attract and then who you allow in your life.
Yeah.
And once you become more aware of who you are, what you need, what you don't need, emotional intelligence is a big one. And I think as you got older, you became more self-aware of that.
Yeah.
And obviously kind of, found the person you're with now.
yeah, I mean, I feel like a lot of people like to say like men are trash and all of this as well, but it's like, okay, but like what are you emanating and what are you
Exactly.
putting out there to
And what are
attract
you-
these trash men?
As a
Because
reason.
at the end of the day, it has to come from within.
Well, there's also the there's the other side of it. It's like, listen, like you're a pretty girl. Like no matter what, you're gonna attract everybody.
Yeah.
It's just your choice in
And
men.
Yeah,
what
You're the one
attracted
that's
to.
picking the
Exactly.
trash. So then, in those 2 years that you after that relationship before you met Thomas Popovich,
Yeah.
between those dates, what did you do during that time for you to?
Well, I had my whole phase, and then I had, the time that I was celibate. Like I literally was celibate. I didn't date anyone. I didn't have sex with anyone.
long?
Yeah.
It was 8 months.
You're going to be like 8 days.
8 whole,
a whole 2
days.
weeks, man.
It was the hardest time of my life.
8 months.
8 months.
How
yeah.
was that?
That's actually when I went vegan. It was like a whole transformational period for me. And then I went to Vegas with Chris
Really?
Did it last throughout Vegas?
afterwards.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, before and a little before and after.
Okay. Okay. I got you. Okay. So,
All right. Well, I mean, is there anything else that you'd like to share from any of your past relationships to why you are the way that you are today?
Okay, so basically what I would just recommend is to essentially just really do a lot of shadow work, really look as to why it is that you're attracting those people, what that situation was, as well as, just being real with yourself and not settling. At the end of the day, settling, you're not going to end up being happy in the long run. And don't sacrifice anything that you want, because at the end of the day, if you focus on what you want, you're going to end up getting it eventually. Just don't try to stick the round peg in a square hole.
interesting. So manifesting is pretty
What
much.
the fuck did I tell you about these fucking little posts, dude? I added it to you with this stupid shit. Anyways, all right. Well, I think we've gotten a lot of insight about you.
We did, for sure.
Based on what we already know from, I think we also learned ourselves a
Absolutely.
little bit more about you.
I
So,
like that. The
sure.
insight.
so now as we go towards the end of the show,
The
we
fun
want to
times.
have some fun.
Right.
So we're gonna go back and forth with some questions. Obviously, I know that you
You
have,
have some, right?
I have like 3 maybe.
That's fine. All right, yeah, we got a couple. So
Okay.
regardless, you're our guest, so we want to put you on the hot seat. Regardless, obviously,
Okay.
we want the point of view of a woman and of the guest. Don't do that. God knows where that shit's been at. But we want to go back and forth and just pretty much open up on the conversation so we can get different feedback from different topics and different questions that people may have. So as you drink a little bit of your
I'm
Grape-
getting ready.
grape
My
juice.
grape juice.
we'll start. So question number 1, Marvin ask.
You want me to ask?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So, you're obviously in a long-term relationship. Who do you think should pay on a date?
Well,
I'm gonna get different scenarios, but like right now.
Yeah. You go answer first, and then we'll
Okay,
challenge.
so in the beginning of the relationship, he literally did everything. Like he paid for everything all the time. It didn't matter, nothing. Like he was always paying for it simply because I was in college and he understood that, like, you know, whatever. But
Did you work in college?
I did, but it
wasn't
wasn't
anything.
It wasn't enough. I was paying for my tuition. You know, tuition costs a lot of money. So,
So
and I was living by myself as well. So I had to like support myself and do that. So he understood, like, you know, I was working hard and I was going to school. So he supported everything. Like he would even pay like for some of my bills too. So
awesome. That's very nice. Did you expect that, or did you?
I didn't expect it. I feel like all my other relationships, I was, you know, the breadwinner.
Hey.
So yeah, I was. So it was a nice change for me, like to actually have a guy who would actually pay on dates. Crazy. I just feel like my dad was always very like adamant about always me having my own and not depending on anyone. So I never really wanted, like I would have to want a guy, not need a guy. So that was always like my mentality. And when my boyfriend came in, he was, like I said, like he was a very like, he was always in his masculine, like he was always very supportive of me. So like I allowed him to do his thing. So of course, like I enjoyed it. Okay. and like of course, like now, like I don't care. Like if it just depends on like the finances and like how everything's going. Like obviously right now, you know, Royal Caribbean's cruise industry, COVID is not popping.
Yeah.
So obviously now, like, you know, like I've kind of taken like the forefront, but like it's not really something that I even
you guys
bat
are
an eye out.
Yeah, you guys are a team.
It's a companionship. Yeah,
right,
like
right.
we're here together.
And at this point, you live together, so obviously your bills become his bills and vice versa.
Exactly.
So you guys tackle it together.
Yeah, I mean, we always talk about, okay, this is what we have to pay, not this is what I have to pay. So it's always like more of like, okay, what do we have to do together type of situation. Like even when I was in college, like if I wasn't able to do something, he would support me and say, okay, don't worry about it. Like I got you. Like I know you need to focus on this. So you can release that shift, you know, so that I can.
Yeah, I think there's different, you know, like there's a lot of girls, especially in Miami, who expect the guy to pay all the stuff and pay for everything. But I feel like it sounds like he wanted to do it, and I feel like you get different results when somebody wants to say, "Hey, I got this,"
yeah,
or when you expect him to always pay, right?
Yeah,
So
well, I've just always kind of been like, my mother at one point in my life was making $100,000 a month, so like.
What was she doing?
Well, it was before it was the real estate. So she was a mortgage broker, flipping houses, all of that before 2008 and the market crash. So she was making a lot of money back then. And I feel like I've always kind of been like a very headstrong woman, and I never really cared what other guys made or what money they had or anything like that. Like I just wanted, like I said, I have a checklist, and that wasn't really one on them.
So I feel like, you think because you know you're obviously very business savvy and you're goal oriented and you want to be successful and financially free, which is why you have all these things that you're doing. You think that kind of plays into it as well, because you're so ambitious when it comes to that.
Yeah,
so it's
of
like
course.
Money doesn't really impress you as much as maybe just some other woman.
Yeah,
right?
definitely. I mean, I feel like it was never really like, I knew that like even when I was broke and I was like super in debt, like it was never like a for sure thing. Like I knew that I was going to be rich. I just had to wait to catch up with time. And like the person that I was going to be with, like we were going to put each other on and we were going to find a way to be successful together. So as long as everything else aligned, then we could figure out the money thing after.
I like that. You know, when you talk to some woman and it's like, what do you want to be? You know, what's your goal? She's like, they're like, I want to be a stay-at-home mom. And I feel like you wouldn't want to be a stay-at-home mom. I feel like that's not. I mean, that's.
I want to be present. I want to be a present
of course,
mother,
but I feel like you don't want to rely on anybody in that sense. You want to be, be a very strong person. Very dominant.
Of course. Like I always want to have like my own thing going. I feel like when people don't have like their own purpose or their own passion, you kind of become too like dependent on like the attention that you get from the other person. And I feel like when you guys each have something that you're both passionate about and something that you're giving like service to, like you're serving others, then it shifts the focus, you know, as to like the pockets. It's more about a community type thing.
Sweet. Have you ever gotten back with an ex?
Yeah.
How did it work?
I did.
Okay.
I did. Actually, the relationship that I was in prior to this, we got back a lot of times.
Back and forth type of
back
thing?
and forth.
Yeah,
like I
for
told
2
you,
years,
it was on and off. Honestly, it was ridiculous. The whole relationship was just like on and off. So it was like, I couldn't even tell you like, oh, did I ever get back with them? Because it was like just a constant.
Nonstop.
Yeah. Okay. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you like, oh, like it was a mistake or it wasn't, because it was just so volatile that like I couldn't even really give you an honest answer on like if that's worth it or not. because each time I did, it wasn't worth it. Like, but at the end of the day, I learned so much and I grew as a person. And at the end of the day, the healing that it gave me made me stronger, and to be able to enlighten others and like be like the partner that I am now, and understand and be more forgiving with everything that comes to us. So at the end of the day,
it worked out for
it
you. It molded you into the person who you are today.
Of course.
If you had to, well, you're obviously in a relationship, but if you had to recommend for a woman to shoot their shot to a man, both in person and via social media, because apparently that's where you find your success.
Honestly, all my relationships have started through the DMs. Isn't
Really?
that crazy? Like every single one.
But have you ever shot your shot through DMs?
Yeah.
Like if someone had to, like if a girl asked you, like Ciera, like there's this guy I really like, and I want to approach him, I just don't know how.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure like my first relationship, I was the one who like started the conversation.
So then you just slid into the guy's DMs.
Yeah, I slid into the DMs.
So
Yeah,
easy, dude.
Yeah, for
it's
girls, it's
simple.
always easy.
Yeah,
It's
guys,
so
we
simple.
just want attention. I said it in a pod. We're gonna drop the one with Richie very soon.
Yeah.
But it was that well, by this one's out, it's already out. But I had said guys, we can get complimented once, and that'll just take us through like a whole year of like negative energy.
Yeah.
When a girl, you can kind of give her a bad compliment. Like, what's a bad compliment?
Not a bad compliment, but like
what's a-
like
yeah,
kind of
what's
like
the-
a puita. Like I don't even know how to
Like
say
a
it in
whatever
English.
thing?
Whatever, you could just say something negative. So, for example, like women when they post a picture and
Like,
they get a lot of
hey,
like
big head.
they get a lot of good comments.
Right.
But when they get one negative one, that's the one that they're like, well, fuck you if you don't want that, or you're gonna get blocked. But
Like, affects
guys,
them a
we
lot
have to
more.
deal with like, yo, you have a big ass forehead or shit like that. But then we get one girl that's like, damn, you look good, and you're like, thank you.
Yeah,
Because like for us,
frame
it's
that.
big. So obviously,
Yeah.
for a girl to just DM a guy, I mean, it's easy. But I'm gonna flip it then. So then, how would you think a guy should approach a girl? Both in the DMs, and then you already said about how your now boyfriend did it. How would you say if a guy wanted to DM a girl or go up to a girl, both sides, what do you think would be the best strategy for him?
I just feel like do something that like you guys have in common. Like find some common ground and relate to that person, which is kind of the same way how I slide into the DMs for my business. So
Interesting.
like find some common ground. Like, oh, you like yoga? Like, damn girl, how you get those?
Yeah, but
splits?
let's say like let's say there's a girl.
see you.
Let's say there's a girl like at a bar, and then the guy's gonna approach her.
Mhm.
What would be the best approach? Like, what do you think the guy should do in order to get her attention?
Be like, what song do you want me to pay the DJ to play right now?
Oh,
That's a good one, right?
that is a good.
Have you been
one.
approaching in bars and stuff like that kind of scene?
Yeah, of course. I mean, it was kind of like annoying. I feel like a lot of times when girls go out, like
They want to go out.
yeah, and they want their space. So I feel like something like that, like, hey, like, what song do you want me to play for you? Like, I'll pay the DJ right now to make it happen for you.
Yeah, so like
To
some
play your
shitty
favorite
ass song.
Yeah, whatever. Who cares? And then you let her have fun with her friends, and then you're like, oh, so here's a drink.
Oh, and then we gotta buy the drink too.
Yeah, of
okay,
course.
cool. Yeah.
I see how that goes.
So there's no winning here. You're just gonna
giving,
go
just
home,
giving.
not giving me the number anyways. What a fucking failure.
I mean, your face has to back it up. So
Okay, so
So looks
good.
matters.
So then looks, obviously there has
Yeah.
to be some sort of physical attraction in
I'm
order
a
to
big
open
face
up.
person. Like that's
Face. So are you?
What did I say? I said that the
Like,
other
wow, we're
day.
the same.
Yeah,
Yeah, I told you. We're the same person.
I'm a big face person. Like everything else, I can kind of work with.
Yeah, you can improve. But
Yeah, you
face
can
is like
improve,
your
but face is-
honestly,
Well,
it's
it lasts
surgery.
over time.
Yeah,
Good. Awesome.
exactly.
Yeah. Well,
Interesting. Yeah, I do have actually one. Do you think it matters? I mean, to you personally or in general, you think it matters how many people somebody has slept with? Body count?
I don't
You don't.
particularly because like I dated someone when I was in college who had literally like had sex with so many girls and all of that, and at the end of the day, it was like honestly when I found out the number, I cried.
How did you find out
what was
about
the
the
number? A ballpark. You don't have to tell us. But give me
I don't
like,
really want to say.
just ballpark.
Like more than 50?
Oh my god.
More than 150.
Oh my god.
More than 200?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Number has to
More than
be-
250.
It was like 300 something.
But how did you even find out about that number?
Well, because he basically told me. Well,
Why would he tell you that?
I know he's awful. He was
It's
a piece
weird.
of
You
shit.
don't do that.
Well, I was the first girlfriend he had. That like it was
So he's like,
honest,
full disclosure.
well, honestly, I only dated him for like I said, I had expiration dates on guys, and he was
Right.
going to jail. So
God, I want to put his picture over my bed. Worship him every morning.
honestly, no, he had a lot of issues. He had basically opened up to me and told me that he had never slept alone for like
Like
ever. like since he started sleeping with someone, he had never slept alone.
Yeah, he
there
has problems.
He had major issues, and then when that happened, obviously, actually, you know what? I guess it does kind of matter because then when that happened, it kind of opened the can of worms, and I was like, "You're a psychopath." So
Yeah, but I mean, I don't think it's the fact that he slept with that many women.
it was more like he had an issue of being alone type of thing. So it was, and then of course that like created like insecurities, and I was like, "Oh my god, like no!" And then like I ended up breaking up with him because I felt he was being sketchy, and then I like was a little crazy, and I pulled up to his house because it was college, and we all lived like 2 blocks away from each other. And there was like a girl's car in his driveway, so I was like, yeah, this is over.
Did he go in? Did he go in?
The lights were out, and I was banging on the door.
Nobody answered.
No one answered, and he was like, "Oh, like I don't know why you're tripping. Like I'm at a party. Like she just parked her car there." And I was like, "I don't care. I'm done with you."
And that was it.
Yeah, that's it.
So you when you go into a relationship, or when you did enter into your last relationship, your current relationship, was that something that you thought about, body count? Did you ask?
No, I mean it really wasn't. It really wasn't a conversation because, like I said, like my attraction for my current relationship was so high that like
anything else was irrelevant.
It just didn't even really matter. Like he actually had like dates scheduled, and he like called them and was like, "Hey, yeah, like we're gonna have to cancel," like before we even became official. So it was kind of like just like I guess a mutual agreement that it didn't really matter.
He had dates scheduled with other girls?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Popular guy.
Yeah, popular guy.
Hey, how's your guy? Hey, I like that. Cool. You got a question?
Yes. So because you had a short stint with sexual therapy, that was the major, right?
Yeah.
What do you think a man can do to be better in bed? So there's this stigma that men suck at sex, and I asked for your advice, and I went to you. So I guess in essence, what's very important when it comes to the intimacy in that department? How can a man maximize the intimacy, I guess?
Well, I feel like intimacy is all about giving. So I feel like if you're just not worried about like the other person and their satisfaction, like what is this? It's an exchange. You know what I mean? It's an exchange of energy and an exchange of everything. So at the end of the day, like you have to be able to contribute to what are you bringing to the table kind of situation.
I think that's a good like I think that's pretty well said, because like when you have sex with somebody, or you're being intimate with somebody, and it's like instead of wondering what you can get, and you ask what can I give this person, how can I please this person, that's when like the magic happens, especially if they do the same thing. So now it's like I please you, you please me, and we're not really focused about our own needs, but their needs. And
then it becomes more like you even get like aroused by satisfying them.
Yes.
So it just becomes something like that as well. Yeah. So it's a good cycle.
So we're almost running out of time, but I want to give you the floor. Do you have any questions for us that you wanted to throw at us?
Yeah.
All right, go. Let's do it.
Okay.
I'm done.
My first question is, what is your ultimate objective with the coffee breakup?
Oh, cool, nice. Do you want to give your side and I'll give my side?
Yeah, I'll give my side.
They should be in sync, but I'll let you go first.
So for the whole reason we started was to help other people, right? To open up a platform, and I feel like relationships, we all go through it, relationships, heartbreak, and disappointment and rejection, and so we just wanted to create the platform where we can have an open dialogue, we can be vulnerable, we can have this discussion.
Comfortable being uncomfortable.
Exactly.
About any
talk
dating
about topics.
relationship.
Right, exactly. Talk about anything or everything.
Yeah.
A lot of these topics you want to talk about, but you don't really know who to talk to, who to trust to.
Yeah.
You think that you're alone in this, and it's like we said, you know what? You're not alone. We have all these issues, and a lot of times we just don't talk about them. And so we wanted to kind of break down that wall and say, hey, you know what? 2 guys from Miami, we've been through our stuff. We haven't been the best guys in our lives, but we've overcome that. We've gotten better, and we want to break it down and talk about these issues, these topics that are very common, but not really much common to talk about. The goal for me, in my opinion, is to have guests on, and to even celebrities on, if it's Bad Bunny, The Rock. Like because
big.
Yeah, of course. You don't think they date? They go through trauma. They go through relationships, and it's like I think it'll be epic if a year from now, where you're sitting is, I don't know, Dua Lipa or whatever, like
Kevin Hart or something.
Yeah, Kevin Hart.
Oh like
that'll be interesting. Yeah, that'll be dope. So I feel like, in my opinion, obviously Chris is gonna give his feedback. We just want to have that conversation, have that dialogue, and be vulnerable, and have that platform that people can come and voice their opinions and voice their feedback.
Yeah, so Marvin is pretty much the prodigy that I worked on. So obviously, you know, we have an episode that's coming out this week, but by the time this comes out, it's already out. But pretty much is our background of how it started. So I was helping so many people, and he was one of them. So when he wrote the book and he mentioned me in it, like it kind of opened my eyes. Like, okay, if I've helped so many other people, homie wrote a book.
Yeah.
Like, imagine what I can do if I can, you know, expand on this. Like,
Yeah,
how many
like
people
reach
can I
a
reach?
bigger audience.
So I brought him to this little podcast group, and you know, I helped him, and I was like, dude, I want to help more people. So then that's when we kind of teamed up to do it. So as we continue to do episodes, he continues to learn and adapt and change the way he thinks based on what I do on camera.
Yeah.
And then so I just want to do that for people who are watching us. And then that's the most important thing. So if I can continue doing that, again, I don't know why. Maybe it's the counselor and the Scorpio in us. But the point is, I've been able to do it for a lot of people. So I want to continue doing so. And I feel like the podcast was the best way. So creating that conversation, that platform where anyone can kind of interact with us to really shed light. Shine light on these situations. I think it's very important. And then obviously down the line, my goal was to, you know, I always thought like I want to be on the Ellen show. Like I want to be to the point where people are like, shit, like you made it.
Wow.
Like yeah.
Ellen show might be canceled because of some reasons, but I'm gonna stay quiet.
Oh, fine. Give me somebody else. Whoever else
the
is.
coffee, it doesn't matter. The coffee breakup is it. It's the first.
We're gonna be the
kind.
new.
It's the
thing.
first of its kind.
Yeah. So I
Okay?
think that it can really be something very beautiful, and I think we can really accomplish a lot with that.
I love that. Definitely. I mean, that was like my thing. I was like, are you guys trying to go on TV and all of that? Because I feel like, you know, podcast is like essentially like radio is for like ugly people, but you guys are like,
Thank
you.
you.
Know, you guys.
Yeah, I think we have the look as well.
You have the look. You have the look.
I think the camera likes us.
Yeah.
The camera, baby, like the camera. So yeah, what else do you have for us?
Oh, okay. You know, I guess to lighten up the mood, would you guys ever get intimate?
Don't do it.
I'm gonna do it.
Go ahead.
With a midget.
Oh man, you knew about the question?
Yeah, because we had talked because I wanted to give her an example of what to expect, and she goes, "I'm gonna ask it." I didn't think she was.
I don't. Dude.
Did you snort? How adorable! That's funny.
Okay.
Would I? I don't. I've never met a midget that I was attracted to. So.
That wasn't the question.
Well, I mean, I have to be attracted to that person in order to be intimate with them. You know. So.
Bro, you've gone through a laundry. You have.
Right, but like if I don't feel that, I mean.
You gotta tell me that you.
What if he was a badass midget?
Yeah, like a thick ass and nice titties,
why
cute
not?
face.
Well, yeah, you know what? Maybe. Why not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You think you can fall in love with her and marry her? What if the sex is so bomb she backs that shit up on you? Because you know they have like they're a lot stronger because you know they
it's like a smaller body. You know what? Never say never. Who knows?
Damn, dude, I like that you're open about that, man.
What's your insight?
I would do it, bro. Yeah, bro. You know how open I am. You bring an amputee next to me.
Chris is the type he'll do anything as long as to try it once.
Blind, deaf, mute. I don't care, bro. Bring Helen Keller over here and I'll get her on.
Oh my god.
I like that.
What else you got?
Okay. My next question is: has the exposure of the coffee breakup made an impact on your dating life?
Oh, that's a good question. Chris?
I want you to go first because I don't want my answer.
You guys are just passing it back.
I don't want because I feel like my answer may influence his, and I don't want it to.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. The coffee breakup itself, my dating.
Like, do people like DM you and like, damn, that was so good?
I've had that, but it's more
not like that, but
yeah. It's more
I would hope.
Yeah. It's more supportive than anything. As far as like in a romantic relationship, I've become more aware of some of the topics that we've talked. Because I learn from Chris every time we sit together. I look up to Chris not just because he's taller than me, but also because he knows a little bit more stuff than me. So I learn things all the time when I sit down with Chris. So you know, I've gone on dates and I've dated, and yeah, it has helped me. But as far as has gone, girls like. You know,
don't lie, you motherfucker.
No. The girls hit on me, but it's more because of my writing. It's not necessarily the coffee breakup.
But has it added on to it because of the podcast? And be honest.
Like, I mean, I've gotten more exposure, but it's
people will DM you like, "Oh, I saw your podcast," or
well, yeah, but that's more
I
supportive.
saw your podcast.
That's what I said. It's more supportive. It's not really like
But it's still sliding
like
in
yo,
the DMs,
but I don't think they want to bang me. I think it's more like, hey, you know, I really like the topic that you talked about or your opinion. I've gotten that. Like, I really like the way you think. So yeah, maybe a little bit, but it's, you know, I've gotten more exposure because of my writing, and then the podcast obviously doesn't hurt, right? But to say that it's like girls just line up to. You know,
so what about your Twitter? I feel like Twitter, you get a lot of
Twitter, to get, yeah,
Twitter's a different story.
Twitter, but that's not really my podcast. That's more like stuff that I post.
That was so funny with the dog.
You saw that
posting.
dog? Oh my! I did not see that coming.
I rank on
That
him
was
all the
so
time.
funny.
I did not see that coming. That was actually really
You're a meme.
I
dude.
died, bro. It was like woof woof.
Woof,
Yeah,
woof.
that was crazy.
Blew up, dude.
Dude, some girls had sent some stuff like you can put me on a leash. I'll be on my knees.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
He
like-
gets nudes and shit.
Yeah.
Wow.
So Chris,
Yeah.
What a
yeah,
pussy.
out there.
No, I mean, yeah, I've gotten DM'd, but nothing's ever come from it. I mean, I haven't been on a date in
Nothing's ever
2
come from it.
days.
yeah, like then again, like I haven't really taken any action or taken advantage of any opportunity that's come. But I mean, I have had some people DM me, or they'll write to me, or they'll comment, people that I didn't know, or they'll add me, or they'll try to write to me. But my mentality is not really there, so I don't let it go too far. I kind of just leave them there as friends. And then if something does come up, maybe down the line it could. I've told you before, I'm really big on being friends first.
Yeah.
And then if something could come of it, great. But I'm not gonna just come in and let somebody DM me and think that something can come of it. But
Oh, okay.
I have
We gotta
gotten.
work for you.
I have
Yeah.
gotten. Luckily, he has 20,000 followers. So I keep telling him, shout me out so I can get more followers and I get more interactions. But I have gotten a little bit more exposure because of it. But it's nothing like,
Like, yeah,
more
nothing
dating or more.
crazy,
Yeah,
yeah.
nothing like that.
Okay. So my last question
Good.
would be
Running out of time.
basically, I guess aside from COVID, but would you guys ever fly a girl out to like hang out with you because you really liked her and you guys had been talking over like I guess Instagram or
Like I met her before, like somewhere, like
No.
in Vegas.
No, like on.
no, like you met her online
Oh.
and would you ever fly them out?
I wouldn't.
You wouldn't?
You want to visit me? Then you can fly yourself out.
Oh, okay. What about you?
I think it would
Chris?
depend.
Yeah.
How much is the airfare?
Yeah. Okay.
like, how
where
much
are
is
you
the
flying
fare?
from? Are you from Milwaukee or what's up?
Yeah, I think it would depend. I mean, it depends on how big the connection is. Like, for example, if you had a connection like you did with your boyfriend,
Yeah.
if I felt that via social media, you never know where you're gonna meet someone.
Chris is so open-minded always.
I really
always-
am. Yeah, I'll accept anything because the thing is, like, people will write to me and maybe I wouldn't even be attracted to them. But you
Yeah.
know what? I'll be extremely open-minded because maybe you have a good personality or you had balls
Yeah.
to write to me.
Yeah.
So the fact that you did, I'll be open to at least meet with you. Maybe we won't have anything intimate, but we can have a great friendship out of it.
Okay,
So that's really the goal. But
So so I've flown to like I'd rather fly to you. I work for an airline.
Oh
So
yeah.
I fly for
Embrace
free.
the layover.
Embrace the layover. So I fly for free. So I've flown to visit girls.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
So that's
but it's
okay,
almost the
sorry.
same thing then.
Yeah. Essentially, it's the same.
Yeah,
thing.
but I wouldn't pay to fly.
But
for
that's-
free.
that's the
I would-
thing.
Like I fly for free. So it's
Okay, but what if you had to pay to fly? Would you go visit her and fly to her?
probably not. Not in that instance
Wow.
because I was like, hey, I don't really know you.
Yeah,
I
but
don't
what
know
if you
the-
do know her? You guys have been FaceTiming. Like.
I would fly. Yeah, I would probably fly there just for the experience. I love traveling, so it's
Yeah.
like I don't mind if I.
Depends on where she is.
Exactly. If she's like in Cali, hell yeah, I'll fly there. I'll get on a flight, $300. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll make
if
it
it's
happen.
like North Dakota, no chance.
North Dakota.
I've never been in North
Does
Dakota.
that even
though.
exist? Is that even like a real
I
place?
think it's a myth.
I've never met anyone from North Dakota.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
a myth.
like-
Or Wyoming.
Or
Supposedly that's not
Wyoming.
even a real
Like,
state.
Yeah, like what is going on over there?
Yeah, no, anybody from there.
Which we're good? All right, so anything else for us?
Nope. That's
I
All right,
think
so
we're-
yeah, we got to hurry up and wrap it up. So final thoughts, anything that you want to leave off on? Any final words? Any advice you want to give to women? Anything?
Any advice
Keep
that
it quick,
I want to
keep it quick,
give
keep
to
it quick,
women
keep it quick.
is honestly just protect your energy. Just don't give yourself to people who aren't deserving, and honestly, just really work through your past traumas so that
I love
when
that.
you engage in a new partnership, you're not bringing all this like baggage and like past traumas and things like that are going to hinder your future relationship because you might as well just not
Back
do
up,
it.
yeah. Waste your time. Or waste that person's time.
Exactly.
Well, that was beautiful. Ciera, we're going to wrap it up now. It's time to break up. So it's time to close out. I know. Sorry. Maybe
sad.
next time.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being on the show. It was
Ciera,
really
it was
great.
truly a
It was so much
pleasure.
fun.
Yeah, it was an honor to have you and your
Oh.
positive energy and
Yeah.
and
My headset kind of went out. Yeah, it was a pleasure to have you, and it's so great to see you again. I haven't seen you forever.
I know. It's
wait,
been,
yeah.
I think it was since Vegas.
Probably.
Wow.
Yeah, so I'm super excited for you, what you have for going on for you, and
Thanks.
wish you the best of luck with your relationship. You're very happy, and you're glowing.
Yeah,
really.
you
being
can
in
see it,
this,
you can see
you can
it.
tell you're a very different person. I'm very excited for you. So,
Yep.
ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in for another episode. Before we close out, you have anything to say?
No, thank you so much for the support as always. When you guys will be watching it, but yeah, thank you guys for the support. We greatly appreciate it.
Follow us on YouTube. Subscribe on YouTube if you're listening to us on Spotify and iTunes. You can listen to us if you're on the go. You can't watch us on Spotify and iTunes. If you want to watch us, you can watch us on YouTube. Great. Follow us on
Instagram,
Facebook, Twitter.
That's it.
Click the link in our bio. You'll find everything for us. We got a lot of exciting things coming your way.
We sure do.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for another episode.
Thank you, guys.
This
Be
is
safe.
Mambo number 5.
Dun, 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 dun.
Thank you, guys.